Welcome back to Blind Grilling. My name is Chris Peltz and I am the most interesting griller in the world. And today we're going to be smoking an apple pie.
Gabor!
Yeah?
Chris, he's making smoked apple pie.
Smoked apple pie? Hi, we need to go to Blind Grilling's house right now and get some apple pie. I want me some apple pie.
No, we're not getting any apple pie.
Why
It's
not?
a bit big around the midsection. You don't
It's a
need
bit,
any.
there's always room for a smoked apple pie by
There's
Blind
no
Grilling.
room in there.
I want some apple pie right now. Go warm up that car, woman. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm here. The one who's got that master flow. Blowing smoke from local to international. Yeah, I'm here.
So for our crust, there are some very simple ingredients. In fact, we're talking like 5 ingredients at the most. What we're going to do is you need 2.5 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And then you need a cup of butter, and then you'll need some ice water. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start by adding 1.5 cups of flour, the sugar and the salt, and we're going to start pulsing it into our food processor, and then we're going to add the butter. And once that all starts to incorporate really well, we're going to add the last cup of flour, and then we'll get to the water in just a minute. A couple of key points to keep in mind when you're making a crust like this is you want your butter as cold as possible and your ice water to be just that, ice cold. So those are a couple of absolute musts to make sure you get the perfect flaky crust. So let's get started putting things together. So real quick, as I'm adding this salt, I do want to make the point that we are adding, it is kosher salt, not table salt or iodized salt. We are actually using kosher salt, so be sure when you follow this recipe that that's what you use. So as we add our butter, after pulsing a couple of times, we are using unsalted butter, 2 sticks or 1 cup. Take your lid off, and with a little spatula, just kind of knock everything off the sides. So after a couple of minutes of blending this, we're going to add our last cup of flour. This will still be crumbly, and in fact, for those who can see, take a little pea-sized piece of butter is what you have in there, and that's really what's going to make that airy, flaky crust, because as you roll this out and you've got those little pea-size size of butter, as it cooks and as that melts, it leaves those air pockets, and it just that's exactly what you want. We're going to get our ice water over here, and we're going to add about 8 tablespoons of ice water. So we've got to a consistency with that water that we've added where you can kind of form a nice dough ball, and a little bit of water still on the top. We'll get it out and we'll start forming that. But it's really just kind of sticky, a sticky dough, but you know, not soaking wet as we get out and we work it into a ball. And then we'll talk about what's really cool about this crust in just a few minutes. So we took out our mixture out of the food processor into this bowl, and I formed it into a ball. And it makes a little bit bigger than a softball, probably almost getting close to the size of a cantaloupe, maybe not quite that big. But what I was saying earlier, the great thing about this dough is you can freeze it for up to 3 months, or you can stick it in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 days. Now, one thing you do want to do before rolling it out for your crust is you do want to stick it in the refrigerator for at least an hour. Now, before you put it in the fridge, take a piece of saran wrap, lay it down and put your ball in the saran wrap, and then you want to wrap this dough ball up in saran wrap. So get that saran wrap around it and then stick it in the fridge. We've got our disposable cutting board sitting out here on the island. We went ahead and put some flour down, and our dough has been in the refrigerator all night. It gets really hard when you do that, so if you freeze it or it's in the fridge for more than an hour, sometimes you may have to take it out and let it start to soften just a little bit. And so we've again put some flour down. We've got some flour on our rolling pin as well, and we're going to take out our dough and then just start. I'm going to press it out. And then we'll start rolling it out. Get a nice, good round pie shape. We've sprayed our cast iron skillet that we're going to put it in. Got the egg set at 350 degrees, which is what we're going to do. We got apple wood that we're going to use to smoke with, and then we'll talk about the other little ingredients that we're going to be putting in here in just a few minutes. So we've got our bottom crust rolled out and set in our cast iron deep skillet. This is a little bit deeper than a lot of skillets, but we like it pretty thick with the with apples. I've got some Lane's Barbecue apple pie seasoning. This stuff is absolutely amazing. We're gonna shake some on the bottom. So Lane's Barbecue apple pie seasoning. It's awesome, awesome stuff. Then what we're gonna do now, a lot of folks cut up apples, which is great. You want to do that? That's absolutely an awesome way to go. You use fresh apples. My wife actually goes to an orchard. She gets apples every year, and then she cans her own apples, and that's what we've got here with us today, is some of my wife's canned apples that are just so good. So what we're going to do, we are going to pour our apples on top of our crust, and we're actually going to use, because this is a deep skillet, we're going to use 2 quarts. So after we get our 2 quarts of apples in here, we're going to put another little shot of Lane's Barbecue, and I think I've got it turned the right way this time. Lane's Barbecue apple pie spice. Lane's Barbecue has a bunch of sweet rub seasonings. He's got a strawberry shortcake. He's got a blueberry muffin. He's got another one that's like a salted caramel and mocha. I mean, just awesome. Lane's Barbecue is awesome. We use it in several of the desserts that we do, so I'm gonna put that on the top again. So right now I'm sprinkling on the top some brown sugar, and just do a little bit of brown sugar across the top of the apples. And so now we're getting ready to roll out our top pie crust, and probably won't need all of this, so we're gonna take this to the side. Let's see, cut that almost in half, and we'll show you a little trick to do with the extra dough in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and roll out our top crust, and we'll be back when we're ready to put it on. Alright, so we got our top layer of crust right here on our apple pie, and just going to kind of crimp together. So once you get the edges all crimped together, you're going to just take a fork, and we're just going to kind of poke holes through the top. Then we're going to sprinkle the top with a little bit of just some granulated sugar, regular white sugar. And then watch it as it goes, as we put it on the smoker, and as time goes by, we'll watch it and see if we need to add maybe a little bit of butter or something, but that should get it to brown and crisp up really nice. So this is ready for the smoker. So when we roll out our extra dough, what we're going to do is we're going to make some small little like cinnamon rolls. These things are going to be absolutely amazing with this extra crust. You roll it out kind of, a rough rectangle kind of shape. And for this, we're going to use some margarine just because it spreads really easy. So once we get the margarine spread out over our crust as it's rolled out, we're going to now take some Lane's barbecue and apple pie seasoning. We're going to add some brown sugar and some cinnamon sugar as well. I had my wife help, but we just dumped cinnamon sugar all over there. And so now the brown sugar. Hey, there it is. I can spread it around. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to roll it up. So we're going to cook this just like the apple pie at 350 degrees. And it probably takes about 35 to 45 minutes. Just watch, you know, it'll start to get kind of crisp. So our cinnamon roll from our leftover crust is done. We pulled it out. We just did it in the oven. And oh, dude, it smells so good. I can't help it. Oh man, wow. All right. So, and you can, I mean, you can smell that apple pie seasoning from Lane's Barbecue. So we're gonna get we'll let it cool just a little bit. It's super hot, but we'll let it cool a little bit. We're gonna cut it up. We'll give a taste test. But oh man, I can't. I'm so excited. I love this stuff. So. We're going to check out the pie on the egg in just a few minutes, and it's about done as well. So it's cooled off just a little bit. Give you guys a good look inside. Wow. Flaky. That cinnamon sugar and brown sugar combined is awesome. With that Lane's Barbecue just is a subtle hint. It's almost like an apple pie within itself. Man, it's so good. So good. Awesome. Can't wait to try the pie itself. Folks, it's been just over an hour actually for our pie, but it is done. And so we're getting ready to take it in. We're going to let it cool, but man, this apple pie, whew, it's gonna be so good, so good. So let's get our egg. Oh, wow. I can just sit here and smell it. Woo, doggy, let's go. Folks, our apple pie has cooled just a little bit. We've gotten a piece out, and we're gonna give it a taste test. Still warm. And that crust. Oh yeah. Wow. That crust is just such a flaky, amazing crust. Appreciate everybody watching Blind Grillin'. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us and all the new videos that we'll be putting up. And as always, remember, if you're looking, you ain't cooking.
Yeah, I'm him.